I have now officially been here in Bali for 1 week, but I already now want to go back home to Taiwan. As you might already know, my girlfriend and I are currently here in Bali, but what you may not know is that we're actually gonna be here for an entire month. But now, only after 1 week, I'm already starting to miss my dear country of Taiwan. So in this video, although I am here on the dream island of Bali, I want to give you my top reasons for why I do actually miss my dear country of Taiwan. And where do we begin? I've actually made a whole list of things here that I have noticed that is not just as good here in Bali as it is back home in Taiwan. And it actually starts even before you've reached both the islands of Bali and Taiwan. And that has to do with the research that you might do before traveling to these different places. I don't know about you, but when I travel to a new country or a new location, I go on YouTube and I search what to do in the country, and I also search what not to do in the country. And if you do just that, you will be greeted by a bunch of foreigners who will teach you a lot of helpful but also a lot of scary things not to do while you are here in Bali.
Trusting people on Facebook. Carry around large amounts of cash, to not hold your phone out nearby streets.
But on the other side, if you would be googling things not to do in Taiwan, you would be greeted by Alan from Life in Taiwan, who has a few other recommendations for foreigners who wish to travel to Taiwan.
Number 1, do not litter. Number 2, don't jaywalk. When traveling on an escalator, always keep to the right.
And you have to admit, these two completely different videos just show the two complete different mindsets that you will have when you first enter Taiwan or Bali here in Indonesia for the very first time. Both these videos are accurate, but it also just shows that you have to be a little bit more careful, you have to pay a little bit more attention, and you always have to be cautious, and you cannot just relax the same way as you can on the streets back home in Taiwan. But moving on with the research, and now we actually reached the custom and immigration, and I honestly could not even believe this was a thing. But when it comes to Bali's defense, they actually have a very smooth and convenient digital custom declaration, which I think if you are a tourist coming to Taiwan, we are still using the blue physical notes that you have to fill in your address and then give to someone who probably could not care less of receiving the note of where you will be staying during your time in Taiwan. But that is pretty much the only thing that I would recommend about Bali customs and immigration. First of all, it took over 2 hours just to actually line up for immigration and to enter the country of Indonesia. But then after 2 hours, when it's finally your turn to enter the country, you have to pay 1000 NT in some customs processing fee to allowing you to actually enter the country. And we will talk about money and just the general feeling of living here in Bali later in this video. This just like blew my mind. Of course, it's a visa on arrival. As a European citizen, I'm just not used to actually paying for my visas, so that was just something that I felt was very annoying. And now you might think that paying 1000 NT for a visa on arrival here to Bali is not that bad, and that is the worst thing that you have to do when you go through customs here in Bali. Well, if that's what you think, then you're wrong, because they also have something, and this is the part I could not believe the first time I read about it. They actually have a phone import tax. Full disclaimer, I don't have to pay this myself because I'm gonna stay here in Bali as a tourist less than 90 days. But if you are going to Bali for more than 90 days, you have to pay phone import. You have to register the IMEI number on your phone just so you can use your foreign phone with a local SIM card past 90 days. And this tax is 30% of the value of your phone above 500 USD. And in my case, who just bought the brand new iPhone Pro Max 1 terabyte phone back home in Taiwan for 56,400 NT, which by the way is just crazy, but I do need that storage for shooting these YouTube videos, and also since I have an Instagram girlfriend as well, which comes out to over 12,000 Taiwanese dollars just for bringing the phone, which I've already paid for in Taiwan, into Bali to use here with a local SIM card past 90 days. I don't know, this is like mind-blowing to me. I just don't understand how this could even be a thing. You know, all these YouTubers are warning about the scammers on the street. No one is warning about the scammers of the Indonesian government who are like implying all these different taxes for bringing your own property into your country. Like, I don't even understand what the purpose of that would be. But I do have to admit that this actually sets the tone of just how it feels living here in Bali on a daily basis, because every single thing just costs money. Importing your own phone costs money. supporting yourself. Just visiting this country costs money. And if you are on the street, even if you park on just the most random places along the street, there will be like a guy there asking you for money. No legit parking signs or anything, and you're in the middle of nowhere parking like along the street. It's not the money itself that bothers me, but the thing is that it's a very, very low amount. It's like 2,000 or 3,000 Indonesian rupee, which means that you always need to make sure that you have these smaller bills in your wallet as well, because if you don't, you still have to pay, but you have to pay a larger bill, which you may or may not get changed back to. And in that case, you have paid more than even this guy who you may not even have to pay in the first place, telling you to pay, which bothers me a lot. And then the other fact is that there are no signs. If there would just be a sign that makes it like a little bit more legit, I would happily pay, because that are the rules. In this case, it's just like a random guy who happens to have a green jacket on, which doesn't say anything, and he just asks for money. Like, it could literally be anyone. So yeah, if you want to have a part-time job, you can just come to Bali and bring a green jacket and start charging for whatever you want. Next up on the list is the general insecurity I am feeling here in Bali versus Taiwan. And I'm not only talking about the personal security and the personal safety we have in Taiwan, where I absolutely do not need to worry about someone coming up and taking my bag, my wallet, or my phone. Whereas here in Bali, at least according to the more experienced foreigners living here, you may actually have to pay attention so you don't actually get robbed on the scooter or if you're just walking along the street. But I should also mention that me personally, I do feel 100% safe walking around here in Bali as well, and I'm not worried at all that someone will come and steal my wallet, phone, or my bag. But with that said, I do feel that the people here in Bali just want to make as much money from the foreigners as possible, which of course I 100% understand, since tourism is huge here in Bali, whereas in Taiwan you do get the impression that the Taiwanese people just want foreigners to have such a great time as possible in Taiwan without any personal gain from themselves. Whereas here in Bali, where it is a lot more tourist focused, every single interaction you have with the locals will most of the time include some sort of money transaction as well. Either they want to sell you something or they have a service they want to offer you. Even when my girlfriend tried to get a Bali visa to stay here a little bit longer, which by the way is another story and maybe that will become another video as well, the people at the visa agency also wanted her to pay like literally millions in Indonesian rupee for a service that was completely unnecessary and didn't give us any extra benefits at all. Whereas I feel like in Taiwan, they would have properly explained everything and saying like, this is the price for this service, but based on your situation, you absolutely do not need it at all. Where here in Bali, they just quickly want to like give you the price and then hope that you pay it and then go home, and that's when you start to think, I actually did not need this at all. But speaking about insecurities, there are just so many more insecurities here in Bali, which just would never happen, at least not to me, back home in Taiwan. At night, people would actually come up and offer you drugs here on the streets in Bali, which has absolutely never happened to me when I am walking out late at night in Taiwan. Of course, I'm not buying any drugs, I'm not using any drugs at all. It just gives you this just feeling of insecurity that people like just come up and they get like very close to you, whispering like almost in your ears, and it just gives you this not pleasant feeling when you are walking, maybe like along the beach or just in the city late at night. Second one, not as dramatic, and that is Google Maps. And as a foreigner, as a tourist in the country, you 100% will be reliable on Google Maps. Here in Bali, although the locations most of the time is accurate, there's a lot of stores that have closed. They say that they're open on a Tuesday, they're not open on a Tuesday, or in one case, the entire building was just not there. And the third thing happened when we did a one-day trip to Ubud, and on our way back, we wanted to fill up the gas, and the gas station simply said, sorry, we're out of gas for today, please come back again tomorrow. Which, you know, in Taiwan, I have seen like some gas stations being closed, but I have never during 11 years in Taiwan encountered that they ran out of gas at a gas station. If that has happened to you, please do let me know, because I'm genuinely very, very curious, but it was just something I never thought could happen. So it's stuff like this which just adds to the whole insecurity, and you feel like you cannot really trust the system as much living here in Bali. Which leads me up to the next point, which is that most of the time there isn't even a system here in Bali. I have done my fair share of complaining regarding the Taiwanese systems, just because most of the time I do not think it makes a lot of sense, because there are so many more efficient ways to do something. But I've come to realize that I have to respect the Taiwanese system and the Taiwanese way of doing things. But here in Bali, most of the time it seems like they don't even have a system in place. For example, the traffic, I I swear to God, I never ever thought that I would say this, but I cannot wait until I come back to Taiwan, come back home to Taipei, and I get to experience a 99-second red light again. I miss the red lights and the traffic lights so much. Hear me out, I know that the 99-second traffic lights are not that appreciated by us scooterists in Taipei, but do you know what's worse than having these traffic lights in every intersection? Is to not have any traffic lights in any intersection. It just feels like go straight, turn left, turn right, do whatever you want. First of all, they are riding on the left side on the road, which takes some time to get used to, but even afterwards, it just feels like there's no rules other than that. Everyone in every intersection just hoping to be the first one through and just coming out alive, to be honest. And even when it comes to the sidewalks, there are like no system in place for people walking at all. First of all, they more often than not do not have an actual place to cross the road, and even just walking along the road, they don't even have a dedicated sidewalk to walk on because it's just like business signs and scooters or cars in the way. So please do forgive me complaining about the lack of biking paths along the roads in Taipei and Taiwan. Comparing to other Asian countries, we should just be happy that we actually have a sidewalk to begin with. And just like the gas stations may not have gas, our apartment or our villa here in Bali may not have electricity. This is just so stupid, and hopefully someone from Indonesia, someone from Bali is watching this right now, because I don't know if it's just because we live in like a short-term villa or if this is how it actually works for everyone living in Bali. The way you pay for electricity is that same as in Taiwan, you will go to a convenience store and you will pay money at a convenience store to get electricity, but you're paying in advance. So that means that when you've actually used up all that money for your electricity prepayment, you just don't have any electricity at all, which happened to us last week in the middle of the night. So like sometime between like 2 and 4 a.m, no electricity, no AC, you just wake up, you're just soaking sweat. So the first thing we had to do when we woke up was to go to the convenience store, take some cash, pay some money, and then we had electricity for the next couple of days. It just seems so incredibly stupid. Next up, I also quickly want to mention internet freedom. And don't worry, this video is not sponsored by a VPN service, although it actually should be, because this is the first time where I actually have a genuine problem with my internet here in Bali. And I have talked about the internet freedom in Taiwan in countless of videos before, and pretty much every year there is a new ranking just that puts Taiwan very, very high up in the global list of internet freedom. But I've never really understood what that meant until I went to a country that does not have that freedom. And there are tons of websites that are banned here in Bali, specifically Reddit, which is the international version of the Taiwanese PTT. For someone who is like on Reddit every single day, and that is where I get most of my news actually, it's just mind-blowing that a site like that would be banned. So yeah, quick mention that please do not take the freedom in Taiwan for granted, because not having that freedom of any kind just sucks, and it makes your life so complicated. And I've actually had late YouTube videos as well because the internet security here is so bad, so I actually have to use a VPN service. I'm not gonna tell you which company I am using. So the websites such as YouTube and Facebook do not allow me to upload videos just because they cannot trust the internet security. So I actually need to use a VPN service to upload my videos for you, so you can watch this in Taiwan with your just amazing internet freedom. And next up on my list, I've actually written down convenience, but I think we will just skip this point at all, because in my opinion, there is simply no other country in the entire world that can compete with Taiwan when it comes to the general convenience. Public transportation here in Bali is just non-existent. You have to use this Gojek, which is like the Uber here in Bali, and just trying to go anywhere by yourself just because you have to endure this terrible traffic, which also reminds me that I will never ever complain about the Taiwan or Taipei traffic ever again. Indonesia and Bali is a completely other level, and just such a small thing that we don't have that many convenience stores here in Bali, and at least the ones closest to us are closing at 10 p.m. every night, which just makes me feel like so spoiled when I try to go and get some late night snack or just a drink at 11 p.m. and I actually have to plan my drinks and my snack consumption for the first time in 11 years, which is a little bit inconvenient but it's also not that big of a deal. But with all of this said, Bali is of course an amazing island, and I cannot wait to explore the rest of this beautiful nature, these amazing beaches, and we also have a private pool here in our villa as well. And for the next couple of weeks here, I actually gonna listen to my girlfriend and try to live a little bit more in the present than trying to live in the future. So I will actually try not to spend that much time recording videos here in Bali. Instead, I will work 50% of trying to get the final Swedish videos out for you guys, because I still have a few food, snacks and dessert eating videos from when I was back home in Sweden, which feels like ages ago, that I have not had time to edit yet. So since I am now on vacation, I will actually take this time and just slowly edit these videos so you get to see the final videos of my family and friends. And if that is something that you want to see, please do consider subscribing to this channel if you haven't already. And if you want to support me a little bit extra, please also consider becoming a YouTube channel member, since 100% of everything I get from this membership will go back straight into the channel to help me make more and better videos about Taiwan every single week. As always, thank you all so much for watching. My name is Lucas. It starts with L as in like, ends with S as in subscribe. Please do both, and see you all in the next one.